right, everyone. Good morning, and thank you all for joining us today. As everyone knows, this is National HBCU Week, initiative created by the Biden administration to place a spotlight on the advancement of the educational equity, excellence, and economic opportunity associated with historically black-owned black colleges and universities. As we all know, it's HBCUs. And I'm so excited to have HBCU Day here in Baltimore. We've asked the City of Baltimore employees who are alum of HBCUs, current students, or simply supporters of our HBCUs to rep their schools by wearing school paraphernalia. And you can see some in here with us today wearing their HBCU's finest gear. I, of course, have to wear both Morgan and Coppin as in my pins today. For generations, HBCUs have been the foundations on which what we know as black excellence has been built. They have produced countless physicians, attorneys, elected leaders, educators, and so many others who have served as examples for so many of us to follow. And some of our most accomplished and groundbreaking figures our nation has ever known are the product of HBCUs, including Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., Vice President Harris, TV pioneer and philanthropist, and once a Baltimorean, Oprah Winfrey, producer Spike Lee, NFL Hall of Famer and former Baltimore Raven Shannon Sharp, and Baltimore's own Thurgood Marshall, the first black person appointed to serve as a Supreme Court justice. We in Baltimore are the proud home of two dynamic HBCUs, Coppin State University in West Baltimore and Morgan State University in Northeast Baltimore. And if you're like me, you continue to be impressed not only with the historical imprint that these schools have made since their founding, but with their tremendous strides they continue to make more than 150 years later through these fabulous young people that we see before us today. You can walk around the campuses and see the beautiful new buildings, and you can see the impact being made by the students who go on to solid careers here and beyond and throughout the world. Our HBCUs, and all of them, have a lasting and undeniable legacy and are an important part of the black experience, and I am so proud to proclaim this the first HBCU Day in Baltimore at this time. I will now read an official citation. There's two of them, so I'll be presenting both, but just reading one. A proclamation by Brandon M. Scott, Mayor of Baltimore. HBCU Day, September 23rd, 2022. Whereas today, we recognize historically black colleges and universities to honor their pivotal role that HBCUs have played and continue to play in enhancing the overall socio-economic status of African American communities as well as the fabric of our nation. And whereas for decades, HBCUs were the sole source of higher education for African Americans, generations of African American educators, physicians, lawyers, scientists, and other professionals found at HBCUs the knowledge, experience, and encouragement they needed to reach their full potential. And whereas today, HBCUs confer the majority of bachelor's degrees and advanced degrees awarded to black students in the physical sciences, mathematics, computer science, engineering, and education. And whereas a 2014 study by the United Negro College Fund revealed that together, Maryland's HBCUs generate an estimated $1 billion in total economic impact. And whereas Baltimore is proud to be the home of two excellent institutions of higher learning who have been committed to black excellence since their inception. And whereas Morgan State University, founded in 1867, is among the nation's most diverse HBCUs and awards the largest number of degrees to African American students in the state of Maryland. And whereas Coppin State University, founded in 1900 as a high school for the preparation of African American elementary school teachers, today offers career-focused programs that ensure that students graduate with the skills that translate across jobs, industries, and markets. And whereas HBCU Day in Baltimore is a day for students, administration, staff, and alumni to celebrate their institutions, promote awareness of the importance of these institutions, and emphasize the need for adequate funding. Therefore, I, Brandon M. Scott, Mayor of the City of Baltimore, do hereby proclaim September 23rd, 2022 as HBCU Day in Baltimore and encourage all residents who are alumni or supporters of HBCUs to represent their school by wearing their school paraphernalia. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set the great seal of the city of Baltimore to be affixed this 23rd day of September 2022. Congratulations to you both. Should we step? Sorry about that. We're going to step. Which way, JJ? Step that way. Thank you very much. I will now turn it over to Dr. Wilks from Morgan first, and then we will continue on with the rest of the program.
All righty. Good morning. On behalf of President Wilson and our 9,600 students and our SGA representatives and our over 56,000 alumni from the National Treasure, we accept this proclamation. You know, as an anchor institution in the state of Maryland and an anchored institution in the city of Baltimore, we've been referred to as Baltimore City University by Mayor Scott. We really appreciate this proclamation, and on behalf of our students, faculty, and staff, we thank you all, and we look forward to our continued relationship with the city and the mayor to really transform lives and uplift our communities that abound us. Thank you very much.
Good morning. On behalf of President Anthony L. Jenkins, who sends his sincerest regards and wishes that he were here to honor this day of celebration, our Student Government Association President, Mr. Justin Evans, and his cabinet members, and yes, Jackson, our mascot, who are all joining us here today, the administration, faculty, staff, and students of the great Coppin State University. Thank you for the acknowledgement of not only Coppin State, but recognizing the importance of historically Black colleges and universities to this greater global community. HBCUs have provided a fundamental and vital role in not only the education, but also the employment of underrepresented and minority communities, contributing in economic and social impact for those we serve. Coppin is no exception. For 122 years, we have provided and still continue to provide an accessible and affordable quality education for any and all students, whether it is obtaining a degree from one of our 53 undergraduate programs, 14 masters, or a doctorate in nursing, or enrolling in one of our numerous certificate programs, or being a strategic corporate or community partner. We here serve as the anchor to not only West Baltimore, but the destination institution of choice for the greater Baltimore metropolitan area and beyond. Therefore, Mayor Scott, and to you, the great city of Baltimore and its citizenry, on behalf of the entirety of Eagle Nation, we thank you for this day of proclamation in recognition of the contributions and tireless efforts of all HBCUs, and welcome all to spread their wings with us and soar at the great Coppin State University.
Thank you. We are truly blessed here in Baltimore to have both Coppin State and Morgan State universities in our city to do so much great work, not just for people here, but folks who come from all over the country and then tend to never leave once they come into Baltimore and attend these great universities. I will say, however, I will send both of the gentlemen a text message. I want to know from the presidents who's going to win the basketball battle this year, but we'll save that for a few months from now. Now we will hear from Harry Christian from the United Negro College Front.
Thank you, Mayor Scott, and thank you to the mayor's office and his team. I am excited to be here today as an HBCU graduate myself and as the Director of Development at the United Negro College Fund. We are proud to be proud to be hosting our very first event here in Baltimore, our very first Mayor's Masked Ball. UNCF for almost 80 years is an organization that, of course, supports African-American students who attend HBCUs. And we are proud, specifically in my office, the Washington area office, to have an imprint in Baltimore and to also support the great students in this city and also the HBCUs in Baltimore and the surrounding areas. So thank you for all of your support and for the proclamation and just, of course, for, making it known that HBCUs and the graduates of HBCUs have a huge impact in our nation and everything that we do. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I think that we just heard it from Harry, but for more than 30 years, mayors in cities across the country have hosted UNCF Mayors Mass Balls as a way to raise money for scholarships to help African American students go to college. And I'm thrilled, as you just heard, to announce that next May the 6th, 2023, that we'll be hosting the first one here in Baltimore City. With their memorable and popular catchphrase, "A mind is a terrible thing to waste," the UNCF understands that far too many bright and ambitious students are often prevented from pursuing higher education because of limited resources. And today, we stand with the UNCF to say that we are committed to ensuring that students from Baltimore who want to go to college can do just that. The UNCF is an organization that has truly been about the work of supporting young people and their educational goals. In fact, during the 2020-2021 school year, the UNCF awarded more than $1.6 million in scholarship to 341 students from Maryland who used those funds to attend schools like Johns Hopkins, University of Maryland College Park, UMBC, Howard, Spelman, Morehouse, and the list goes on and on and on. So today, we are pleased to make this announcement because we know that this organization shares our goal of making sure that our young people can reach their highest dreams and the highest education that they can possibly obtain, and will not be denied that simply because they come from a background where they might be financially challenged. So thank you, everyone, and thank you all for being here today. And with that, we will end and take any questions. Lisa, Mackenzie?
Off topic, Ken Duffy from DL News Radio. What's your take on what happened last night at Johns Hopkins? There was a meeting about this private police force. Protesters interrupted it, and this agreement is eventually going to hit your desk. What's your take on what happened last night, and would you sign off on that agreement that was there?
Well, the MOU is with the police department itself. That's what the legislation in Annapolis requires. I think that we've seen these protests happen the entire time, and really it's up to Hopkins to understand what their entire community wants and make a decision on whether they want to move forward or not. But what I will say is that when you think about universities around the city, including Coppin and Morgan, they have police forces. We know that University of Baltimore has a police force, UND. Most colleges do have that, but we're just going to have to wait and see how Hopkins handles it as they move forward.
Just a quick follow-up. Would you block the agreement?
So this is about what we're legally allowed to do, right? And that legislation was passed for them to be able to do that. They're going to make that decision, and we're going to work with them in the police department to see what's the best path forward. Mackenzie?
I know that you've been asked this a couple of times, but I haven't really heard a specific or direct answer why the Druid Sex Health Clinic wasn't shut down given the years-long issues with code violations, rodents, and other serious violations and concerns.
Yeah, thank you, Mackenzie. And I'll say again, because we're going to be continuing to make sure that DGS does what they need to do to provide the people working there and visiting the clinic that they need and deserve. In addition to, as I said earlier this week, I don't think it was to you, I think you were here, that we're also going to be figuring out a way to have a clinic, a new clinic. That clinic is one that was overdue to be brand new when I was about 16 years old, right? And that's what we're going to be doing moving forward. You got one? Got one more? Go ahead. No questions about HBCUs? Continue.
Was it an oversight from your administration's perspective not to inform the city council president and other people involved in public safety when you make a decision about safe streets?
So we've been through this before. And as I said yesterday on WBAL, someone made a mistake and they didn't notify the council president, and that's been addressed. But other members who were directly impacted in their service area were directly impacted were notified, and people will be notified, and that's been corrected on my end.
Any other questions?
Yes, sir.
Also about the E. coli contamination, is stretching back to Labor Day now. Are we any closer to knowing the source of what exactly happened?
Yep, investigation continues, and as we said before, we'll continue to say, and this is stuff you can see in cases like this around the country, really. We know, more than likely, this is connected to the things that we talked to you guys about, the water main breaks, the valve things that happen in the area. This is why those tests were only positive in that very small area, and DPW will continue to go through and investigate and look at all of that, and once we have a clear picture, we'll come back to you with it. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
I have one more.
Go ahead, Mackenzie.
Okay. It's been a week since we heard about the Safe Streets stuff, the reorganization. Are we any closer on getting information on how much these new contracts will be worth?
So, Mackenzie, I think you know this very well. Contracts go through the Board of Estimates, and that's when it comes to the public. I don't know how many times we have to tell you that. We might have to give you guys another lesson on how city government works. Board of Estimates is where the public sees contracts, and that's how we're transparent.
Your administration works with it, though. We're drafting the, Monty's, we're working with these agencies.
Right. We have a public process of showing contracts to the Board of Estimates in Baltimore, and that's how we're going to do that. We're not going to violate agreements and organizations' ability to work on these things before they go out to the public in the right way through the established public, transparent process that has been here in Baltimore for hundreds of years.
Thank you.
Thank you.